Hello and welcome to the Dogtooth podcast. I just want to do a quick introduction on what the Dogtooth podcast is, and then I'll get on introducing our guests. So the Dogtooth podcast is basically me chatting with my network, my friends, business colleagues, and interesting people. So not everyone on here I know very well, but some people will be just my friends. I'm hoping to tease out some interesting things, but essentially what this will be a creative business podcast. Not for creative specifically. It will be various different types of people, from fitness through to manufacturing, with artists in there as well. But it will be generally a business-focused podcast, so it's not going to be necessarily about mindset or fitness or manufacturing. It'll be about all the thread that holds it together, and over time I'm hoping that I will be able to create a sort of a document that will help small business operators, people who are looking to come out of a corporate gig and turn them their passion into a business. That is my passion. I'm fortunate that when I was very young I kind of chose a career based on a few things, but we can get into over the time with these podcasts. But ultimately, I chose to be a designer. I followed that path, and eventually I am now, I've been running my own business for 20 plus years. And I love my daily life. Do I want to improve? Do I want to make a bigger impact in life? Of course I do. And that's part of this podcast journey as well. So if you'd like to join me on the Dogtooth podcast, I am a hand waver. I can't help it. Probably a little bit of Italian in there. Let's go to our first guest. Hello and welcome to the Dogtooth podcast. With me is Lea Williams, and we are going to dig into all things creative, bit of business, bit of artistry, and maybe look at some of her past career and then how she has got what she's got. Lea and I are in the Auto Art Collective. We've just had a little bit of a preamble on some stuff, but I wondered if you would introduce yourself. I like to say that what we think of ourselves, like who we are, but then is like what other people might say we are as well. So who are you?
This is really good fun, I must say. This is a lot of fun. So yes, I'm Lea Williams. I've been an artist now for nearly 14 years, full time, all in, cards, everything, like head on, 100 mile an hour every day, all day. I started out as a customizer by chance, and it sort of led me down very many paths to get to where I am now. So if I was to define myself right now in the here, it would be a customizer with art on the side, as you know, a nice little side dish. So it's all the same, it's all one, but you will find that I'm probably more well known for that now certainly after the last 18 months. It's certainly hyped up a little bit more in that way, which is great, which is what I love. It's what I am, so it's all good.
Cool. So when you say customizer, I know what you mean, but what do you mean by that?
So, for example, here, that's a custom leather jacket that I'm working on at the moment. It's actually a Lost Boys theme. I don't actually think you can see it all that well there, but that's what I'm working on at the moment as a commission. So I will take a lovely leather biker jacket or a denim, for example. Yeah, there it is. It's pretty cool, actually. And turn it into something that nobody else in the world has. So whether it be, for example, the Lost Boys, Lando Norris is a really popular one I've done over the last, and why not? You know, he's a good boy. He's great. So yeah, it's just making something that's a little bit different, and that, you know, growing up, that was me. I was very different, and I always looked at very different things. And, you know, anybody that was a kid in the 80s would know that, I mean, you only have to watch Stranger Things just to see how different people were then. And growing up, that was us. And then going into the 90s with the whole rock scene, I really found that was me. So yeah, I fell very naturally into this without any help or any prompt. It just sort of, you know, we'll get into that, but I landed there quite perfectly, to be honest.
Yeah. So yeah, well, that's a good thing to sort of dig into, because one of the things I really enjoy is that inception moment. It's like, how did you get from where you actually are now to where did it start? So you mentioned there about your childhood. So what did you see when you were a kid that you wanted to do this kind of thing, or did you have like a core talent, like an ability when you were younger that now looking back you're like, yep, that was always something that was gonna end up here?
Well, yeah, as a kid, I was quite creative. Yeah, creative is, it's the word, isn't it? It's the word that we're working on today. So yeah, absolutely, I was creative as a child. When I was quite young, it was always hand making Barbie clothes for Barbies. And then as I got a little bit older and the fandoms of like Ninja Turtles came around,
yeah,
it was always replicating what I could see into something else. So I remember being probably, late 80s, early 90s when my brothers were going into school. So yeah, it would have been very, very early 90s when the Ninja Turtles came out. I remember making PE bags with Michelangelo painted on them. And my mum would sell them to raise money for school, for the school that my brother was in at the time. So it was always I was always creative in one way, shape or form. And it was very much always, looking back now, it was quite obvious that I was a fan artist. I don't particularly like that term because it can sort of marginalise where you sit. But as a wider term, it's a great thing. So I started out being into fan art, and then I discovered wrestling. And then
like WWF wrestling.
Yeah. And I was only young. I was only 10, 11. I was, and a young girl as well. It was quite unusual. And I was always singled out for having those more masculine interests, shall we say. But growing up, I was very creative. And I think I was probably more into the male-dominated interests because my dad used to race cars. So from being newborn, all I ever knew was cars. Yeah. So for me, having male interests was just an interest. But of course, marketing and media says that you're either into girl things or boy things. I had all the girl things, had all the My Little Ponies, but the arty side, I was always very drawn to the character of something or the character of a person. So recreating what I could see was completely normal growing up. And then going into school, I was always very good at the creative stuff. I was okay academically, but I was always could do better, could pay more attention, and I think quite a few people would acknowledge that. They would probably realise that, yeah, that was them as a kid as well. And then going into high school, I discovered rock music, and that is where everything just went, wow. As I'm getting into high school with other kids with similar interests, and the music. I mean, I grew up on Status Quo, Queen. I grew up on all of those in my dad's Cortina, my dad's dark blue Cortina. We've had that conversation before about the Fords. So it's all very intertwined, and there's so much pressure now for kids, and there probably was back then, and maybe you don't realise as much. They want kids to know what they are and who they are far too young. You don't know at 15 and 16 what you want to do for the rest of your days. And as my daughter was growing up, and getting to that age, and she's 17 now, she's in college, I said, I don't care what you do as long as you enjoy it. And if you're good at it, fantastic. But creativity is definitely, I think creativity is in everybody. Now, whether it's artistically creative or whether it's word creative or physically creative, the different types of creativity, and I genuinely believe everybody's got it in them completely. It just depends how it comes out in everybody.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree to most of what you just said. But when I was a kid, in the same time period, is at 13, I had a falling scale of desire for. I wanted to be a car designer. Got told that I wouldn't be able to do it by my teacher because, of course, in the 80s you were allowed to say that kind of stuff. And then as I was like looking around for other creative pursuits because I love cars, and I think now, again, with my adult brain, I love the solidity of that kind of stuff. And so I chose architecture. Again, I was like, there's too much mental work in there. You know, it's great to design a building, but you've got to make it stand up, and you've got to know the maths and the span widths and the weights. So then I gave up on that idea and ended up choosing graphic design. And at 13, I chose graphic design, and then I literally that's what I've done the whole of my life. But I am quite unique in that way, I think, because a lot of my peers, mates, and stuff like that, they all say, "How did you know? You know, like you're the only person I know that's basically decided they wanted to do this, and then I've done it all their life." So yeah, but I would say that maybe I'm a bit different, but for my kids, I've said, don't choose a creative path. Use creativity as a superpower on top of the thing that you want to do.
It will find you. It will find you. It will hunt you down and find you. If it's in there, the universe will make sure. And I'm proof of that myself. That, you know, I went into transport after leaving college, did 4 years in a transport office. You know, but after that, I went into banking, and creativity still found me. Completely randomly. I had no control over it. And I do believe that if that's, you know, what is meant for you will find you, whatever it is. It will find you. It will hunt you down, and it will find you.
Yeah. I think it is quite interesting. I mean, mostly I think that, you know, again, I was just saying to you before we started, is that I've got so many friends who are in businesses that they don't do creative output, but they are creatives. You know, like the way they think, the way they you know, like they make decisions. It's that sort of it's a tool, right? And I think you're right as well when you said that everybody's got it. I just think that people are not told that creativity. You know, like they think creativity is about painting. They think creativity is about, you know, like being able to draw or something, and because they can't draw, you know, then all of a sudden they're not creative. But that's absolutely rubbish. It's a skill, like any skill, footballing, whatever. It's all about repetition. You learn the output of that skill, but the creativity is like the desire to do these things, I think, you know, ultimately.
Yes. Everywhere you look, I mean, you only have to look behind yourself. And here, a creative person is behind literally everything you hold in your hands, except for the air you breathe. I mean, you know, that's a completely separate story altogether. But if you look at everything from, you know, your shoes, from the frame that you choose, from, I don't know, from a fork, from a bottle, there's a creative person that's behind that. Creativity is everywhere. And lockdown was a great example of how you cannot function without creativity. There is creativity stepped in during COVID, when people thought that there was nothing else, you know, and the outlook was quite bleak. You know, it brought so many, and COVID, don't get me wrong, it was a terrible time, but equally, it was also a great time for people discovering something in themselves that they had buried away for however many years, because life got in the way, and all of a sudden all this time was available. And bingo, there we go. I mean, that happened to myself during COVID. I discovered something about me that I sort of probably intrinsically buried away through the business side of doing art. And that came out. So I'm very, very grateful that I did manage to get through, you know, COVID reasonably unscathed. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of things that did happen that weren't great. But I think having the mindset of, you know what, I can't allow my business to be a victim of this. And there were so many businesses that did. There were so many businesses that relied on external factors, and, you know, mine included. I couldn't do events for 2 years, if not more. You know, and that, when you're out of people's actual physical eye line, it was really very, very difficult. It was very difficult.
Yeah, I think the whole sort of lockdown thing quite tricky to navigate, because I actually am with you. I don't personally know anyone anywhere that was in my sphere that was affected by it in that sense, in like the negative sense. But I personally, and a lot of people I know, felt as a really interesting release the pressure of work, life, push, cover this, do that, go here, do that. All of a sudden, this creativity just boiled to the top of people who've never done it, because that is literally, you quieten your mind long enough, it comes up with this stuff, and so I actually thought it was like the best year of my life, from a creative point of view. It was brilliant.
But sometimes saying that out loud, like you say, is just met with such criticism, and sometimes you feel guilty for even thinking it, because bad things were happening out there, and there was a lot of things that were completely out of our control. There was so much out of our control, but you have to deal with it in your own way. And our own way of dealing with it was being a little bit more creative. It was a defense mechanism. For some people, they discovered things. There's people now that are massively famous off the back of one thing they did online. Look at Sam Ryder. What a guy. Without COVID, we may never have heard of him.
There was a lot of interesting things about it. And life is about creativity. And that's actually our job, is to keep life moving forward. Anyway, I feel like we might have been stumbling into a very deep subject there that probably could keep us going a very long time. So, you mentioned something about rock music and some celebrity stuff, and I know some of this, but I'd love for you to sort of like the stories that you tell down the pub. Let's have some of those about your experiences with the rock side of stuff.
They're overwhelming, some of them. I mean, to start with, the biggest one was being backstage at the Ozzy gig. I still haven't processed that, and that was 6 months ago, if not July. 6-7 months ago now. I've still not mentally, emotionally processed that. I'm not going to lie. And I think what made it a little bit harder to sort of look at it and go, wow, that was just, he passed away so fast after it. But do you know what? Nobody else could have done it like that. If anybody was going to do it, it was going to be Ozzy. Let's be honest. So it was difficult processing it, and then adding that in as well, because you kind of felt like you were just a small cog in a bigger chain that was moving at that time. And it was the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever done, ever. I mean, Ozzy has been my hero, along with Slash, Guns N' Roses, Status Quo, Queen, all growing up, that was my core thing. It blows my mind, but that was one of the most iconic things. And then I worked on the backstage MTV at EMA Awards, not on the November before. I got to do loads of custom jackets I did one for Ray, I did one for Busta Rhymes, I did one for Tyler. Then all the names escape me, and without coming across as arrogant, a lot of it I've kind of like not forgotten, but it's almost like there's so much to remember that even I forget. I went on tour for a week with Bret Hart. I mean, imagine telling my 11-year-old self that used to make her own pink leggings and cut out old T-shirts to make his, even now, and that was 10 years ago that I did that, and I went on subsequent tours. Kurt Angle, Ken Shamrock, just again, maybe I was the right person at the right time. I don't know, but when I look at it now, sensibly, it was meant for me. It was all happened for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I find it really hard. Yeah.
I think you've got that energy that is going to get you in places anywhere, right? Because you're a kind of go get it kind of girl, from that perspective. Like I could the day that we met at Race Retro. But yeah, you've got that, you've got that get up and go, and ultimately that's the only way. And I think this is a little bit of a lesson in a sense. Is the only way for those things to happen to you is for you to say yes. Is for you to be available, like not just like available on a date or a time, but available mentally to just go, yeah, I'll do it. I'm in. I'm doing this. And so yeah, there's something there that I think is a lesson that you could give almost on the being available to people, or ideas.
I mean, being emotionally available. I've said that a few times to people, and they look at me like I'm absolutely out of this world. It's like, what does that even mean? Well, if you put something out, and this is me, whether or not you believe this or not, or believe the whole thing around asking the universe for what you want. When I was going into college, now I lived a couple of miles away, I could walk it every day. I would have my massive leather jacket on it was too big for me, but it was mine. There's another story behind the leather jacket as well. All my art gear, and I would have my Walkman on, remember the Discmans? Yeah. And I would have listening every day, there and back, Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, George Michael, Take That, Robbie Williams. There was a real mix of stuff in there. But in my head, I was imagining myself, well, when I meet these people, what am I going to be doing? Or if this happens, how does this happen? So I would have these stories in my head where I'm in a position to work for them. Not just know them, but work for them or be involved somewhere. So those were stories that I wrote in my own head. And then here I am now in 2025, and that was 1995, and all the bits that have happened in between. Some of it has actually happened.
Yeah,
it actually happened. I went and worked backstage at Ozzy. I went and worked backstage for Post Malone was not a thing back then, but it was still an experience in the music industry. It's almost allowing yourself to believe or accept it's going to happen.
Yeah.
What happened? Where in between there? What? And right people as well. You have to be open to meeting people. Living behind a screen on social media, and there's a lot of very famous people that you only ever see on screen. There are also people that you see and read on screen. They are just fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Although online is fantastic, it's great, it's a fantastic tool, we can't rely on that completely. As creatives, we can't be too consumed by it, shall we say.
Yeah.
So you have to be open to, yes, going out into the world, meeting people, networking. Networking is one of the biggest skills you need as a creative.
Yeah, I think you're speaking to me there, really, to be honest, because I built my whole my creative life online, actually. Not like the vlogging stuff, but all my connections. I'm in a little tiny market town in the middle of North Yorkshire. Hills there, hills there, hills there. Right? It's literally this. It's 13,000 people. In the nearest city is York, which is about 20 minutes away. But I guess where I have benefited is that I can reach out to people across the globe via those tools. But in person, I just don't do enough. And I do think, actually, that part of my one of the issues that I have is the fact that I aren't out doing the real in-person stuff, because it really is like a real good way of actually seeing the real person and understanding the real person, and just pressing the flesh, as they say, and with their handshakes, that kind of being with the person. So yeah, that's actually quite boom.
You have done, otherwise we wouldn't be speaking now. You do it, but we won't be speaking now.
Yeah, well, there is an element, but what I think is that I definitely could do a lot more, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
But that's just me and the way my creative brain works. I want to be able to see and speak to people. Yeah. If I'm going to see and speak to people, I find it easier. I find Facebook. Facebook's been around since, I don't even know how many years it's been. I remember it. I remember going on it for the first time, and long gone are the days of where whatever you posted, everybody saw it, whether they liked it or not.
Yeah.
No, it's completely different now. But yeah, the creative brain will naturally find, it's like TikTok. I've still not got to grips with that. I find it very fast paced. And it's always
Yeah.
like, okay, slow down a little bit. I need to figure out what you're doing before I know whether I like it or not. I can see what you're doing, but I don't know if I like it because it's too, yeah.
I think
Creative
you
writing
would,
is
you
fascinating.
would, I think you would be awesome on it actually. Because I think, if you, because ultimately it's another job, right? So that's the only
It
downside as
is,
a creative.
yes.
You end up doing all these other plates and you that take away from the one thing you wanted to do. But I think you would be really good on there, just in
I
terms of like
struggled with
energy
it,
and
really.
also the what you're doing is like because it's interest based, right? So that the whole
Yeah.
algorithm thing. So then with music stuff, your stuff would be awesome on there. It would be dead. It would be be really good. So yeah, I would look into that if I was you. I know I say it's all extra work.
I've done it. Well, I'm on there, but I look at it and go, God, this is boring. It's like I find watching other people paint boring. I'm sorry for saying that, but it doesn't interest me in the slightest. I might look for something if there's a technical skill that I'm like I don't quite know how to mix that color, or how do I quite get that line so thin or so fat, or how does if I need a how to, it is great, but I don't quite find it as maybe as relaxed as somebody that can't do it would do. It's just the way
Yeah.
my brain is wired up. But
Well,
actually coming
yeah.
doing it, I don't know.
No, I think yeah. Again, it's like it's the differentiation of being the creator or the consumer, and I think the consumer part of it maybe it doesn't work for you, but I think the creator part of it there are millions, and that's what like there's such
Oh, I
random
bet.
stuff on there that really make like blows up. Um, I'll say this. If any local people are listening to me, they'll know who I mean. But there is a lady, girl, she's younger than me, so I call her girl. But a lady in the town, she blew up on TikTok with a TikTok reel. She's gone on to utilize this. It was basically cleaning, and then she's gone on to literally build a business. She's got a massive warehouse. She's got her own product and everything. She's like flying now, and it just came off of like
Yeah,
doing stuff on TikTok. So it's I think you would be quite good on it. And again, because the interest model, the music stuff would be good. But
yeah.
Facebook, do you sell on Facebook? We're digging into the weeds here now, but
Yes. Yeah. So I do, but that's only because I've spent years networking and getting to know people, and they're getting to know me, so they know I'm trustworthy. And trust is a massive thing on any of the platforms, doesn't matter which one you pick. Social media, selling on social media has taken a very long time because I want to nurture the relationships I've got. I am trustworthy, and I hope that comes across. So it should I can't be anything other than what I am. But because that is always in the back of my mind, I've got to be super aware that what I do put online in terms of any like advertising for the jackets, that it is important that I do show what we've just been talking about, authenticity of the actual product, a video of it being done, those
mm,
little things. Yes, on social media is it's not as easy as people make. It really isn't. It's not easy. It's not easy.
yeah.
Anybody that says it's easy is lying, because then they're making it out to be something else that maybe it's not. I don't know. It's not easy, basically.
It's
But
another
yeah, I can
skill.
do it.
It's another skill,
Yeah,
and the people that say it's easy is that what we do have like random luck and chance in this, all of it. But those people have had random luck and chance. They've blown up, or they've worked hard to utilize that side of their business, and they may have actually lost time in another side of the business. Maybe their systems and processes are rubbish. Maybe their marketing,
yeah,
their digital marketing is rubbish. So it is a skill, I think, and it is about priorities. If you love it, if you feel like it's for you, then it's like a great way to do it. I think if you feel a frustration with it, then as a creative, we know there's no point in doing anything that sucks your energy because it won't get done.
yeah.
All good intentions just stop at that, right?
Exactly. And just because it's viral doesn't mean it's good. You know,
Yeah.
let's use the Hawk Tour girl. Fair play to her. Doesn't mean it's any good. That's just my opinion. You
Yeah.
know, it's not. That's just one example, but there are loads of there are products flying left, right, and centre on social media. Packs of bog rolls that are like there's 100 in them for 3p. I mean, it's any good. Just as well doesn't mean it's any good.
Yeah.
You know, I have integrity, so if it takes me longer to build my presence on any of the platforms, it's built on integrity and a genuine belief. You know, all my leather jackets, the full leather, they're brand new, they've never been worn by anybody else, and people will look at that and go, well, you're not saving the planet doing that, are you? Well, you know, it was a waste product to begin. Leather's a waste product to begin with anyway. You know, the cow is being consumed, so I am, you know, repurposing the leather in my way. But there are people that, like I say, they will go viral for painting on a piece of cardboard or whatever, and it's absolutely bobbins. But
well, we could say the same about Picasso, right?
Well,
Sorry?
yeah, I mean, imagine Picasso on TikTok or Leonardo. I don't know. It's just it's different generations as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Da Vinci in my, you know, we're talking art now, right? But Da Vinci was like, you know, he was a proper polymath. Really, really. I mean, I've read his book, his biography. Oh, look at that. That was not good. I even put in my email, didn't I? Make sure everything's switched off. Sorry about that. I forgot about the landline. Right. Well,
the old school artists now. If you look at, I think if you were to look at the context of old artists or, you know, really, really famous artists, I think Andy Warhol would be the one that would be the TikTok famous guy.
Yep. Absolutely. He was a proper marketer. Yeah, he was good at that.
That's what a lot of this comes down to, is the marketing of yourself. It's not what you do, it's how you do it and who you are. Yeah. Essentially, you know, you could be the most talented person, but if you're an absolutely awful person with no morals, eventually, you know, you could be viral with the best art in the world, but if you're a bad person, that will eventually catch up with you. You could be the nicest person in the world with the most average of art and never get anywhere, but it just takes one thing and that can change on its head. Yeah. So essentially, you've got to be a good person.
Yeah, I would like to think that. I'm not gonna counter that, but I think that where what I would say is almost in that world is that you could be the nicest possible person in the world and be the best possible artist in the world, but unless you're prepared to do some self-promotion or allow someone else to do it for you, then you'll never be noticed. You'll never be seen. And that skill and talent will just remain, local or internal to your house. So there has to be a bit of that self-promotion. Now you go the other way to that other person who's like is mean, nasty, self-centered, all that stuff. Unfortunately, those kind of people do actually get somewhere in the world. Yet often, I could think of a load of people which we won't name on here in terms of like YouTube level people, that ultimately their brand gets tarnished because they are those nasty, not very nice people, scammy, whatever. We like to think as humans that it all comes around, but sometimes they get away with it for a very long time beforehand. But yeah, ultimately, it's about self-promotion and being a good person, right?
You have to be prepared to put the work in, whether it be into yourself as a person or into the actual art or the creativity itself. You have to put the hours in. You cannot rely on social media doing the work for you. You have to put some of it in yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Well, I've got a couple of last questions, but one of them was about like your creative process in terms of like the way that you turn up in your space there. How do you operate? So do you take inspiration? Do you work hard? Do you turn up when you you need to turn up, or do you have a whimsical kind of attachment to the art? How do you do it?
There's a bit of both. So, I mean, it's just gone 11 on a Friday, and I'm in my studio, and I've been in here since 9 o'clock this morning, and I do that every day. I'm also in here on a Saturday and on a Sunday, but then I can have weeks where I go nothing. But during that week, my head could have dreamed up 400 paintings or 400 jackets. Just because I'm not actually in the studio doesn't mean I'm not mentally working. I can never ever switch off from this. I have now signed up to the fully committed club. I dream this job, I breathe this job. Everything I do is, and job is probably not the right word. This is I am, me and my art and my entire personality. We are one. You cannot separate us. But ideas can come from, if I put the TV on in 10 minutes, and let's say there is Stranger Things. Let's just say Stranger Things comes on. Now, they could play a song that I've not heard for a little while, and I go, oh my God, I remember that. And then it could be, I'd love to do a jacket based on that. Or it could be, I'll go and search out that album and look at the album cover, and it can come from literally from anywhere. It could come from a car driving past, you know. And let's use the Nova, for example. I mean, the epitome of the 90s was so it can just be a conversation. After that, a conversation was had, and I was talking about our old Novas, my old white one, my husband's black one. It got me thinking about what we were doing around that time, the late 90s. And then I remembered the things I did in college, and I remembered the things we used to drink. Remember when Wicked came out, and at college, see, this is what happens. Just one word, like the Wicked, I designed a whole fashion capsule based on the Wicked brand.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, oh God, let's go back to the 90s and maybe do some series art on Wicked. But then I've already done that. This is what happens. This verbal nonsense. Just, I can have a conversation with somebody, or myself, the dog, Ozzy the dog. He sometimes helps me with creative things, but a lot of it just comes from in my head. Sometimes I don't know how it gets there. So when I read the question, I was like, you know what? Sometimes I don't know how to answer it. I find that difficult to answer. It may be really obvious to everybody on the outside. I'm a massive Bowie fan. I'll always take inspiration from Bowie. Look, I mean, even my tattoo there is a little bit of Bowie, and that will fall exactly. It can come from anywhere. It can come from, doing a Comic Con. It can come from doing a show. But one of the underlying things is, what do I want to do this year? Where do I want to be? So, for example, the guitar show is coming up in February. Is one of my most favourite events of the year. I've been doing it for a long time now. It's intrinsically me. It is everything I love. I love guitar. I can't play a note. I own a load of guitars. They look beautiful on the wall, and that's about it. But again, who has been, key on my radar the last 12 months? Ozzy. Ozzy never touched a guitar, not in a playing sense that I'm, aware of, but I know when I go to that show, I'm going to meet loads of Ozzy fans again. I always do every year. I'm going to meet loads of Slash fans. I'm going to meet fans of Jeff Beck. I'm going to meet fans of Jimmy Page. So that forms the basis of, well, let's look at a collection of everybody that plays a Les Paul, for example. So that's just off the top of my head scenario. And then as we look later down the year, we've got Comic Cons. So who's going to be at the Comic Con this year? You look at the guest list, look at the interests. Some are very 80s heavy, some are very 90s heavy, some are very modern. I'm not really into modern fandoms. I've not really found anything other than Stranger Things, but again, it's core 80s, isn't it? There are not a lot of modern fandoms that I've took a grip of and thought, right, I really love this, and built it heavily into my work. One of my recent ones is the Muppets. Who doesn't love the Muppets? But when you take the bones into it, you look at Animal, drum player. I did the drum show last year. It was an interesting topic of conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rest of the year is going to bring. I don't know what's going to be. I don't know what's coming up ahead. I genuinely don't. Other than events I've got booked in, I do know I will never stray from the whole music thing and the little arms that come off it. Very much this year, there's a lot of 80s and 90s stuff that I've dreamt up, and I thought, do you know what, that's just cool. People love nostalgia. People want to feel safe. And when they look on the wall or what they're wearing, they want to be reminded of a time that they felt good.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that when I am creating, it's creative because it makes me feel good, or it's made me feel good in the past, and I want to recreate that and share that with other people. So whether or not that comes across, I don't know. I can't say that. You might be able to agree or disagree. But I mean, even looking at the art behind you now and you know, the shit, the little things, it's like, I remember that being on so many times as a kid, but I've never really delved too much into the whole the whole Star Wars thing. But I skirt around it. I look at the music that was played. You know, Iron Maiden, Stranger Things. Again, it just comes back to where I find these little stories create themselves, and that's where I take it from.
Yeah.
It's
So,
weird, but I don't get it.
well, I got two little things on that I think about often. We'll look at this one first. So, when I was in my 20s through to my 30s, I always thought that I was going to be a musician. I was going to make it big as a musician, even though I'm a graphic designer, and that was my job. I always used to, I was writing songs. I used to play in a band, and then a few other bits and bobs and stuff. Now I just play in the pub on an open mic every now and again. But when I was writing songs, I had this little moment when I knew a song was coming. It was almost like I couldn't get it. I didn't know it. I just knew it was there in the ether. And then, I pick up my guitar sometimes, and it would just literally empty itself onto the page. Everything was there, and sometimes I would craft it, but most of the time it would be just what it was. So then over the years, I've read books and stuff about things, and there's a guy called Stephen Pressfield, which you should have a look at. Really tiny, thin books, real easy to consume. But he's a writer, and he talks a lot about the art of creativity, and, obviously from his perspective, it's writing. But he talks about the muse. So you know about the muse, right? So the Greek muses. So there was like 9, I think. I can't remember. I'm going to butcher the whole story, but basically, it's like this: the descending of the muse on you, because it almost feels like it comes from somewhere else, something else. That creativity. It's not you, or like if it is, how did I get there? I look at some of my artwork, and I'm very self-critical, and I'll kill some stuff. But sometimes I'm like, who did that? I don't feel like I did that.
I didn't do that.
Yeah. Where did that come from? So I totally get that distance from the thing. Sometimes you're like, I don't remember that. I don't understand how that came out of my head.
And there's different processes that come with that. I look at some of my work, and I'm like, that's not me. I mean, this one here, you can see behind me, the slash one, this half a slash, that's been like that since lockdown. And the arm on it is so perfect to me compared to my skill back then. I don't think I can finish that because I don't think I've got that level of skill. I don't, and that's bizarre because that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I look at that and go, I've not done that, have I? But it's there, and it looks at me every day like, you need to finish me. I need to be finished. Please finish me. But it's the longest piece I've ever had unfinished. I have a graveyard here. This is the graveyard. So if I have a mad idea of, I don't know, I'm gonna paint a Nova, and I did do that, and it's in there. It's just sat there waiting for somebody to buy it or do whatever with it. Everything goes into there. So if I have a mad idea, I've got to get it down. I've got to get it to a position of, right, it happened, and that's an idea, and it's now going in the graveyard for a little bit. There's a few in there. But even during the actual process of a piece of art, I can go to somewhere else that I don't recognise. I don't know where it is, whether it is the upside down, who knows? But there is a place that I can go to and take myself to, and nothing else exists. Time doesn't exist. Weather doesn't exist. Nobody exists. I don't exist. It's this magical moment of just existing, and going, and in the background, various stages of rock albums are playing along, and it's almost like they're talking to each other. And one of the things that I discovered a long time ago, and I've never got to grip with because it sits in that ether and I can't quite get it to come out yet, I'm working on it, is if I hear a song, we'll use Paradise City as an example, I see that now as colours and shapes.
Yeah.
Do you remember back when PlayStation came out, the very first PlayStation, and you had no gaming, and it was that bizarre, like, I don't know what it was, like this psychedelic movement on the screen, it would just move. It's like that. So when I hear Paradise City, I can see hot pink, different varying degrees of silver, white, and a touch of green. Don't ask me why. I do not know. I have no idea.
I think they call that synesthesia. I think
synesthesia. That's the one.
Synesthesia. Yeah, I think I can't. I wouldn't know how to spell it or anything, but yeah.
So it's like it is like seeing music, and there is a song by Slash called Anastasia, and all I can see is rich greens and golds. Don't know why. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be that he when he recorded some of that song, he recorded it on a green Les Paul. On his Anaconda. I don't know. And maybe I picked up. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's a different podcast. There is something in me that would love to dig into that actually, because, well, again, like I could probably chat about all this kind of like the unknown part of stuff for a long time, because I think it is part of that creative mind, is that you're open to stuff that's not there, right? And not in any way, if you are academic and you are logical and process driven, I'm not saying in any way that it's not the case for you, but it's almost a bit like sometimes the fact that you are creatively open to anything, and you'll take an idea from here and here and you apply it here and here and here, it gives you the ability to actually accept that anything is possible, whether it really is or not.
Yeah. I'm not fussy, me. If I have an idea, if I want to try something, I will try it. If it's not for me, it's not for me. I mean, like I say, I've got so many abandoned pieces, and again on that subject of taking ideas and musing them together. If you look at a lot of artists, they're very identifiable by particular style or a particular product or whatever. I always found that very difficult to stay within those lines. So if you looked at the back of this jacket, you wouldn't necessarily know it was me that done it. However, if you took one of my Ozzy jackets, you would know it was me because it's come from me. Commission is very different to the inner creativity side that comes out where there's no boundaries. So I think if you allow yourself to stay linear as a creative, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. If you want to take Miss Piggy and merge her with a person and turn her a different character, you go and do it. If that's what you need to produce, because you don't know where that's going to sit. I've painted on records, I paint on guitars, bags, jackets, shoes. I did shoes for a very, very long time, but I also do art because what I've got to do, it's a thing in me. I have no control over any of this. If something in my brain says, today, you're going to paint on a scaffold board or a skateboard, I'm going to do it, because if I don't, I'm only denying myself what could be great in the future. You're just denying yourself by saying, well, I'm a graphic artist, I don't do watercolour painting.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Honestly, once I am completely deep into my career, and I think if I maybe have accepted at the very beginning to not just stick to customizing, because that's what, if you're known, you should be known for one thing and one thing only. If I'd have just had that belief earlier on, the way it is, finding the right people to present it to.
That's it. There's always someone out there for something. I think, yes. And this, like it's like fishing ultimately. for ideas, if you know much about fishing, but because I'm from a rural town, that's what I used to do as a kid. You cast your line out and you're fishing. Ultimately, you don't know what you're going to get, but there's an action, there's a process. You do the thing, and hopefully you'll get the follow through on the idea. But we have gone on. I thought we was just going to do like a really quick one, but we've gone in the flow, haven't we?
So deep, haven't we?
Yeah. Let's round it up with one sort of question, which I like. I like the idea of this myself if I to think about. But what are your goals and dreams? What massive thing or not massive thing do you want to achieve? Like what? I love the idea of dreams and goals, so that's where I'm going with it.
That's a really good question, actually. So, but ultimately, I am living the dream. There is no getting away from that. I'm in a great position where I choose if I want to get out of bed today, brilliant. If I don't, that's also fine. I can't do that though. I must. I don't ever stop. If I was to look at the whole dream and goal thing, I'd love to be able to work with the people that I listen to directly. Ozzy was a taste of something that I know I manifested it in one way or shape. I just need to figure out the next stage and how to get there. Again, coming back to that was just unbelievable. And even now, I just can't believe I'm even having a conversation with you about it. Just, to me, it happened. It was one of them things. And I don't think I've actually, like I say, and said this earlier, fully allowed myself to fully embrace the whole thing. But I'd love more of that. With the past experiences I've had with the New York shop, and having exposure in New York, I'd love to work in America again. Being backstage at Ozzy, I felt like I'd gone home. And it sounds quite dramatic, but when your entire person, when you're in with people that have similar personalities to you, similar goals, honestly, it was just such a golden moment. I stood there talking to Lee, to the guys from Metallica, and they were saying the same thing as me. I can't believe I'm here. These are these people saying to me, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly emotional having a fan-to-fan conversation with somebody that I've admired my entire life. Axl Rose, me and him had a great conversation about his time in the 80s and the jackets he used to wear and the emotion that I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. But if I could have some more of that, please, that would be great. It would be wonderful. I genuinely felt that as a person I'd found a home. And sometimes as a creative, we can always feel very like we don't have homes, that we are the outsiders trying to fit in. But oh my God, when you find it, that's magic. Absolute magic.
Yeah. Well, that is part of that question as well, almost that to let's put it out there, because, there's something in birthing an idea, or a desire verbally, and then you never know who's listening. Now, I don't know anybody in the rock world, I'm afraid. I very much, even as a musician, not yet, but yeah, even as a musician, I'm not that up on that. Well, we'll end now. I'll just do a little roundup. I probably won't put a couple of bits in there. From the perspective of more me talking about my personal financial situation. But thank you very much for spending the last time. I don't know what the time will be after we've done the tweaking and editing, but it's certainly been, for us, it's been an hour and a half. So thank you for that. And I think, your journey's pretty awesome, and the places you've been with it, and the insights that you've got from it and we've shared today, I think it's been pretty cool. So thank you very much for coming on it. And obviously, Kat, we'll go in the group as well, and I'll share it in there as well. So thank you very much.
It's really nice. It's really nice to talk about things, but actually, no, I've had some really good experiences, and if me, and those experiences can bring you know, a little chunk of light to somebody else, then fabulous. Great.
Yep. Definitely follow your dreams. I think ultimately, I think we both agree on that, right?
You might as well follow it, because they will come for you. Yeah. It is just like going into the upside down. Once you're in there, there ain't no getting out.
Brilliant. Well, on that bombshell, on that creative bombshell, we'll call it a day. Thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you. I've loved it. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
See you later.